Have you ever watched a student read a book but skip the words and use the pictures to guess what the words say? Yep, been there too. That used to happen all the time until I switched to Decodable Books. And I want to share with you how I use Decodable Books to help my students really build those decoding skills. I'm Brenda Tejeda, and I've taught kindergarten and first grade. I've tutored struggling readers, and I've created phonics resources and tools to help teachers like you because I know how overwhelming it is to find resources that really work. And today I'm focusing on how I use Decodable Books with my students so that they're not guessing, but they're really reading the words in the book. So what are Decodable Books? Decodable Books are texts that use mostly words that have phonics skills that students have already learned or are currently learning. So the vocabulary is really controlled and they're focusing on current skill and reviewing previous skills. Unlike level text, which really has unpredicted language and students might be able to guess based on the pictures or the context clues. They work because they avoid guessing and students really have to apply the phonics skills to decode the words. They can't rely on guessing or memorization. And it helps to build confidence in early readers because they see that they really can read books. Now, do books have to be 100% decodable, meaning that students should be able to read every single word in the text based on the phonics skills that they've learned? Nope, they don't have to be 100% decodable, and for a few reasons. We do need high-frequency sight words in order for stories to make sense, and these might have phonics skills that students haven't yet learned, or they might even be irregular, so we do need to include those in texts. And also, it's helpful to have some challenging words in books that students can use skills like set for variability, which I'll cover in my next video, in order to decode them. So we want to be able to eventually transition our students from decodable text to authentic text. And so including those challenging words and teaching students how to be flexible readers is important as well. That said, the book should have mostly decodable words so that students can build that confidence, can apply those phonics skills when they're reading it. Now, decodable books are only decodable if they follow your specific phonics scope and sequence. So if you're teaching CBC, then you're teaching digraphs, then you're teaching blends, and then CBCE, for example, you wouldn't include CBCE words in the very first books that you have because students haven't learned those skills yet. So make sure that when you're choosing decodable books, it does follow your scope and sequence. Something else to look out for is that it has enough practice in the book. So sometimes we have books, let's say for example the SH digraph, and you'll only find a couple of words in the book. It's not enough practice. So make sure when you're choosing decodable books, you find books that have lots of words where students can apply that specific phonics skill. It also has to make sense. Sometimes you want to include so many words to practice that the story kind of doesn't make sense anymore. It has to make sense. We read for understanding, and students have to still comprehend what the book is about or what the text is about, so it has to make sense. Choose books that are not nonsensical, like Todd robs a hot rod on a log, just to have short old words. Choose books that really do make sense so that you can talk about the story with your students. And finally, just because it's decodable doesn't mean it's boring. Choose books that are engaging and are on topics that students can actually relate to so that they can enjoy the reading. Okay, so let's get into how to actually use decodable books with your students. And if you click on the little more button, you'll see the description box, which has a link to these free decodables that you can use. And I'll be using this to show you how to use it with my students. Now, I don't spend too much time talking about background knowledge unless it's a topic that I think my students don't know a lot about, or if I'm working with a group of students who are English language learners and I think they might have a hard time with the vocabulary. So we're going to start by previewing the skill and then applying the skill. And my books have a little skill page here so that you can do this with your students before having them read the story independently. So we'll point to the letters, we'll say the sound, students will point here and they'll say ch, ch, ch. Then they'll apply by reading the words and highlighting. I don't know if you could see this, but the CH is highlighted in the words. So we'll read all the words that have the phonics skill in them. And sometimes if we have time, I'll add a little phonemic awareness in it. And after we practice reading them, I'll tell them, okay, now you have to find the word that is ch, a, t. and they have to blend it and then find the word and point to it on the page. And at the bottom, I also have 5 frequency words that are found in this book. And if we have time, we'll color code them by sound. We don't always do this, but sometimes in our reread, we might do that. Or if there's a particularly tricky word, we might also take the time to do that. Okay, to sum up the skill page, here's what it might look like. I'm going to tell students, okay, point to the top of the page. We see the letters CH, that's the digraph, and it makes one sound. The sound is ch. Everyone touch your chin and say ch. CH, chin, ch. Now point to the dots, point to each CH and make the sound that it represents. Ch, ch, ch. Now point to the first word and watch as I model reading that word. I'm going to say the sounds and I'm going to blend them to read the word. Ch-ad, chad, ch-at, chat. Can you try the next one with me? Ch-in, chin. Okay, Frank, can you read the next one? All right, let's all read the next one together. Debbie, can you read the next one? Okay, now let's read them all together. Chad, chat, chin, chip, and so on and so forth. And okay, let's play that game. I'm going to say the sounds to one and let's see who can find the word. S, ch. Such, that's right. Okay, now let's look at the bottom words here. These are the high frequency words that we're going to read in this book. Let's read them together. The first one is the, he, my, is. Now most of these words are words that they've already learned before, so we're just going to quickly read them, and if I see that they're struggling with any, then we'll stop and go over them a little bit better. Now, when we're finished reading the skill page together, I'm going to have students read the rest of the book independently, but there's a special way that I do that so that they're not just listening to what their neighbors are saying and echoing them. And this is a little bit tricky to explain, so I'm going to pop up a picture here so I can show you as I describe my method. Now, I'm going to tell a few students to go ahead and start reading the book independently, and the other students that are in between those are going to reread that skill page until I get to listen to them. I'm not going to listen to them read the entire skill page because I do want them to go ahead and read the book, but it helps to stagger their start time so that they're not listening in on each other. So for example, let's say I have 5 students. I'm going to ask students 2 and 4 to go ahead and start reading the book. I'm going to listen in for just a few words to students 1, 3, and 5. I try to start with the student I know is going to probably need the most support first, so that way I can give them that support with the skill page and they'll have more time to read the book without being rushed. As I'm done listening to each one, I'll tell them, okay, you can go ahead and start reading the book. And then I'll listen to students 2 and 4 read some of the book, and I'll go back to students 1, 3, and 5 as they're reading the book. It might sound complicated, but all you have to remember is that you don't want students that are right next to each other reading the same text at the same time. So you just want to stagger that a little bit. Now, my students know that when they're done reading a book, they're not really done. They can always go back and reread, and we do the rereading challenge where every time you reread a book, you try to find something new, whether it's something you didn't notice in the picture, whether you read it more smoothly or fluently. There's always something that you can get by rereading a text. And this gives you the time that you need to get a chance to listen to all of them read. If you have paper books or a reading passage, or if you have a transparency sheet they can just place over their book, you can also have them, as they're rereading, they can highlight the words that have the phonics skill. Here's some tips to help you as you're listening into your students. Number 1, definitely take notes. So many times I think I'll remember how the students were reading later on, but then as I'm writing notes later, it's almost guaranteed that I can't remember specific details. So definitely have a note-taking system, and if you don't have one, you can grab mine for free. I'm going to leave a link to my small group reading kit in the description box below. So take notes, and also as you're listening, be encouraging, be positive, talk about the good things that you notice that they're doing, and if they get stuck on a word, give prompts, not answers. So instead of just telling them what the word says, give them a prompt to help them figure out the word themselves. Oh, do you see the CH digraph in there? Can you blend the sounds together? What do you notice in that word? I see a suffix. Can you cover the suffix? Can you read the base word? Things like that to help them troubleshoot themselves and not have to rely on you to help them every time they get stuck on a word. Now, if you notice that there's a mistake that most of your students are making, you might want to stop the group and reteach that skill really quickly and then have them move on, or wait until the end and go back to reteach that skill. Definitely make yourself a note so that you can include that in your next lesson with that group as well. Now that students have finished reading the book independently, it's time to do a few important things. First of all, talk about the story. You want to send the message that it's not just important to read the words on the page, but it's important to think about the story to understand what's going on, and that can look a lot of different ways. You can ask them questions, you can summarize a story and retell with their help, of course, and you can also have them share their thoughts about the story. I do have a quick comprehension check at the end of all of my books. This page has students draw the picture to finish up the story. Here's an example of the one that my student did. And then this page has a close activity where students complete the sentences, and the words that are missing also follow that phonics skill, so it's a great time for them to apply with writing. Another thing that I really like to do is I will read the story again after everybody has had a chance to read it independently. I'll ask them to go back to the beginning of the story, and I'm going to read the story this time as they point to the words so that I can model fluency and expression. Don't forget to go back and revisit those books. I used to think that every time I met with my students, I had to read a new book, but there's so much value in rereading. So give your students, if you have enough, give them a copy to keep in their individual book baggies so that they can practice reading during morning time, during centers, or anytime they have a few minutes to practice reading. My students knew also that when they come to read with me at the back table, they would bring their book baggies, they would take out their decodable books or their high frequency stories and practice reading them until I was ready to begin our session. And I also created these little one-page versions of the books, and these are great for sending home. Now, I love to send books home, but I don't always get them back, and since these take me a while to put together, I like to reuse them in the classroom. So these are perfect for sending home. Students can keep them, families can help reinforce what we're doing in school at home, and they're just a great way for students to keep practicing them. I also have a passage version, and these are great for centers. You can have students glue them on one side into a notebook, and then they can highlight all the words after they're done reading it a few times. We also use that notebook in our small group reading table, and I will dictate words, and they can write these words on the opposite page. Okay, let's sum it up with all of our steps one more time. Step 1, you're going to preview and teach the skill to your students. Step 2, have them apply the skill by reading words that follow the phonics pattern. Step 3, you're going to listen in to all of them as they read independently. Step 4, you can read it to them as they follow along so you can model fluency and expression. Step 5, don't forget comprehension. Finally, decodable books aren't just for intervention for struggling readers. They're really great for all readers to help build their independence and confidence as they're learning phonics skills. I hope this video was helpful in showing you how you can use decodable text with your students. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked my ideas, and I would love if you would also share this with a teacher that you know. Thanks so much for watching.